Hell of a good place. I'm alive because of them.
It is the largest domiciliary in the VA system. Located in White City, Oregon, the DOM houses over 800 veterans and offers a wide variety of programs designed to return them to society. Mary Miller travels to the Great Northwest for an in-depth look at the DOM. Plus, Mary introduces us to the House of Hope, an ambitious new project providing housing for the families of hospitalized veterans. This week on For Veterans Only.
For Veterans Only is made possible by a grant from the U.S. Department of Labor, Veterans Employment and Training Service, Washington, D.C. Additional funding has also been provided by the Commonwealth of Kentucky Cabinet for Human Resources, by AMVETS, a national veterans service organization, and by the DAV, the Disabled American Veterans. The producers thank this station and other public television stations for their assistance in making this program available. For Veterans Only is also telecast by the Armed Forces Radio and Television Service for the benefit of the men and women serving on active duty in our armed forces at home and abroad.
For Veterans Only is a national television news magazine for America's veterans and a presentation of Veterans Productions USA.
This week, we take you to the Pacific Northwest, where Mary Miller has found two unique institutions that cater to the veterans community. The first is the nation's largest domiciliary, caring for veterans in need. The second is the first facility of its kind to care for veterans' families. First, a look at the DOM.
Welcome to the White City, Oregon domiciliary. This is the largest of the 17 DOMs in the VA healthcare system and the only freestanding one, independent of any VA hospital. That's made it virtually a city unto itself, spread over 145 acres of Oregon countryside, housed in 62 buildings, connected by almost 6 miles of corridors. The DOM is designed to provide temporary residential care for veterans with a variety of physical, emotional, and psychological problems. Although a few veterans with nowhere else to go will spend the rest of their lives here, most are getting rehabilitated to live as independently as possible elsewhere. That means that after a stay here that can range anywhere from a few months to many years, they will generally be discharged back into the community or residential care, a halfway house, sometimes a nursing home. The place is so massive and the corridors so empty, you wonder where the more than 800 residents are. But a closer look, inside and out, and you find them, involved in one or another of the multitude of programs and services provided here. Where are you guys going?
Medford, do some shopping.
Well, I got some cans I got for sale. I'm gonna take it to the store.
Down here and try to rob the bank.
These fellows are learning a sense of independence by utilizing local bus transportation that recently added the DOM to its regular route. Other outings are more structured as part of a recreational therapy program.
You can hand me that if you want, but or should we put our personal care in here?
We found this group of residents gearing up for a 3-day camping trip of fun and games and a whole lot more.
Relax and get out and enjoy nature. Oh yeah, it's great.
Everybody needs a break, and the camaraderie of the trips is just really good.
What are you especially good at on these trips?
Fishing, taking pictures.
For many of the people who go with us, just getting in the van and leaving the gates is a risk that isn't taken lightly. The opportunity to work together and form a group camaraderie is something that is a very important factor. We find that just through encouragement of that group setting, we have people pitching in to help with the cooking and the cleanup chores and looking after each other.
Other recreational therapy activities available on the premises are golf, bowling, baseball, and tennis. But we found people just as active inside, too. An occupational therapy program helps restore mental and motor skills through things like ham radio operation, rug weaving, and spool knitting.
I go over these nails 15,720 times over these nails to get a scarf 48 inches long.
You count them?
Oh, yeah.
I've been at this for the last 20 years, ever since I've been here.
and I suppose I'll be at it as long as I live. Oh, I make the pattern, and the whole pattern. I do copy them from Indian patterns, though. I cut the yarn and all. It does take a little thinking. You have to keep your mind pretty well ahead.
There is vocational rehabilitation therapy, too, where residents can get involved in things like woodworking, leather goods, and jewelry making, with an eye toward developing competitive job market skills. Some of these finished products are so good they've won prizes at local fairs.
What we're working to instill in the patients here is a sense of accomplishment, of pride, of responsibility. For some of these folks, they've never really been able to accomplish anything that had any meaning to them, really perhaps ever before in their lives.
For those with any number of body ailments, there's a whole physical therapy department, including lessons in wearing new prostheses. And no, this is not your local health spa. This exercise room is part of the DOM, too, and meant to help residents already in good physical shape to stay that way.
Squeeze your hands into a fist and zap the person across from you. 1, 2.
Some residents are too old or infirm to do much beyond simple mobility exercises. Their daily living needs require the specialized attention of therapists in this personal care unit. Well, the DOM also boasts one of the VA's first alcohol treatment units, serving about 400 veterans a year. Once they achieve sobriety, they take classes like this to learn how to get back in the workplace.
One of the things we're going to teach through the course of this class is how to get an interview.
They've gave me a very good start on sober life. I'm going to AA meetings. They've helped me very much with my job search. The counselors here are great. If it wasn't for this program, I wouldn't be as far into my sobriety as far as confidence within myself.
Some veterans have developed so much confidence they're ready for the coveted independent living unit, 4 apartments that come as close as you can get to life in the community. Here you learn skills like cooking, cleaning, and budgeting.
We've had a couple gentlemen who've stayed decades, in one case 14 years, in another case 18, and who were chronically mentally ill, had been severely institutionalized, and after going through this program, we're actually able to make a successful transition to semi-independent living, and they've remained out for over 2 years now.
It's a new lease on life, and I think when I leave here, I'll be successful in maintaining myself by myself.
Any idea what would have happened to you if you couldn't have come here?
I have quite a good idea. I'd have been back in another hospital.
If it wasn't a hospital, it was a shelter or the street for people like Norm Solberg. He was homeless, like about half the veterans here. The DOM has recently made a special effort to track them down and bring them in, and it isn't easy.
They have failed in one respect or another to make an adjustment in the community. What they need is some kind of guidance so that they can plan, and that is our key function really, is helping them plan to do something other than continue this cycle of homelessness.
Rehabilitation also involves activities that can earn a resident money. About half the veterans here are in what's called an incentive therapy program, earning up to $1 an hour, doing a variety of jobs from general maintenance to clerical.
Something to do during the day,
And you earn a little money.
Oh, yeah, we get paid IT pay, yeah. It works out to be nice.
What do you do with the money? Nice to have a little change in your pocket?
Well, I stash it away, most of it.
I work at the admissions board, and we bring patients in and then send them on their way to their sections after they complete their doctor's appointments and their physicals.
What do you like about that kind of work?
Well, one thing I like about it, I meet a lot of interesting people, and it's rewarding when you're helping people, because when they come in there, they're generally nervous and upset and real down, and we give them a boost.
Well, the purpose of the incentive therapy program affords the patients and treatment teams an opportunity to have patients reassess their work skills, to see if they're able to be dependable, can accomplish work tasks and assignments can be self-starters. It also allows the teams to place patients in areas that if they tend to be an isolate from other people, they can place them in work assignments to where they have to come into contact with other people.
Others earn a lot more money in a compensated work therapy program, doing contract work for local companies.
We can average anywhere between $3 and $5 an hour, sometimes more.
What does that mean to you?
That means a lot. That helps me save money while I'm here.
In addition to the general rehabilitation services you've just seen, the DOM has an acute care unit to nurse sick patients back to health. There's an infirmary and a host of clinics for respiratory, diabetes, TB, and other ailments. Nurses say the aging veteran population means patients are sicker these days, making the job more challenging, but still rewarding.
You can work with the patients and work on their lifestyle changes, and hopefully, you know, if you can decrease a person's use of alcohol or tobacco, you've got a little help in getting them out in the community, and it's I enjoy that aspect of it.
There are still other services available here, like a dental clinic, a pharmacy, and chemical analysis labs. All of this treatment comes under the careful direction of a treatment team. It meets with every patient every 6 months to evaluate each prescribed program.
No active intervention can be made. Except to monitor her ability to get around and not hurt herself by bumping into things.
Carol Oldham is legally blind. Her husband will probably be in a wheelchair soon. They expect to live here the rest of their lives.
I love it. It's my home. And they take care of us from everything from our head to our toes and what's in between.
But DOM residents aren't the only ones cared for here.
And where are you going this morning?
Oh, see Dr. Turner. I'm an outpatient.
The DOM has 2 outpatient clinics, one for physical problems, one for mental hygiene. But life here isn't always one of problem solving. There's leisure time too, and amenities to make it worth spending here. Many of the living quarters have been refurbished so residents like this can enjoy doing their college studies here. There's a computer room for those who want to stay current in modern technology. The library is where you're sure to find one veteran who's become a fixture here.
I came here 76 when I came here. I'm 94 in November.
Do you like the place?
Sure, hell yes. I was starving to death when I came in here.
And you come into the library every day, I understand.
Well, yes, you got nothing else to do. What would you do if you were in my shoes?
What kind of things are you reading?
Every old thing. I read everything.
If Tom isn't nourishing his brain, he and others can nourish their soul at a couple of chapels on the grounds. And everyone needs to nourish his body. The dining room gives you ample chance for that. 700,000 meals a year are served here, making the DOM the second largest food provider in the state, next to the University of Oregon.
If you laid the milk cartons that we served for the last year end to end, it'd stretch about 40 miles.
Altogether, this place means so much to so many. The patients, the hundreds of volunteers, the staff.
Hell of a good place. I'm alive because of them.
How so?
Severely depressed, several suicide attempts, and just everywhere else I went just didn't seem to help. I came here and a whole more relaxed, attitude around here, atmosphere. For the most part, the doctors care, and so do other patients here.
I'm a recovering alcoholic, and I had leg problem from a stroke, and I'm recovering from that also. And it's a wonderful place to be.
What do you like about it?
Well, it's everything. I've met a lot of good friends, and one thing I like about it, I'm eating better than I was on the outside. I'm sleeping better. My health, I came in weighing 140, 21, now I'm 160 something. So everything's real great.
How much longer do you think you'll be here?
Well, as soon as I'm working on my legs now, I think I'll be out of here in a couple of weeks. Not a couple of weeks, not too long, but I'll be walking when I leave here. That's the most important thing.
I got about 12 of us patients to get involved in umpiring the league games. And we'd go out every day and do the games. And then at the end of the season, they would give us an awards day. They'd give us all a little trophy or something. It means so much to me because every time I meet them, I'm thrilled that they can say, "Hi, Bob, there goes our umpire," you know. When I was a kid, I was in an orphanage, and I didn't get some of the attention that I'd like to give them. In other words, I'm giving them some of the attention I missed. Yeah.
I'm from Rogue River, and it's about 25 miles one way. And I've been volunteering for about 6 years. I really love the library work and the people I work with.
It's a very human type of place where people are supportive of each other. When people come here, they are in need of assistance and help, and so they appreciate some kindness and the support that others show to them, and because of that appreciation that they feel, why we get that cooperation. And of course the staff are people who are proud of what they do and believe strongly in what they're doing for the veterans, and appreciate what the veterans have done for their country. So it's just a lot of caring that takes place here.
Well, despite all the caring that takes place in the Dom, what about the community it sits in? Has it been equally caring?
We've had a few patients here in the 5 years I've been here who had been drinking and went into the community and got in car wrecks that were real detrimental and caused some bad publicity and feelings, not only towards our facility but towards the veterans. But those are relatively isolated, and all in all we get good support here from the community. And
we found that sentiment indeed borne out in checking with folks who've worked and lived in the area for years.
They used to throw bottles around and things, but they've been real good in the last few years.
So they haven't bothered you, really?
No.
We just live across the field over here, and it's not a bad place, really. It serves some people. And
well, I think it's a pretty good deal. A lot of these guys, they just don't have any place to go.
While the White City Domiciliary does an ambitious job of taking care of veterans, there is another place, newer, much smaller, but doing an equally ambitious job of taking care of veteran families, and it's just down the road a piece. It's called the House of Hope, just 90 miles away in the town of Roseburg, Oregon. Patterned after the Ronald McDonald houses that put up families of hospitalized children at little or no cost, this House of Hope accommodates the families of veterans who are hospitalized at the nearby VA Medical Center. This is the first of 3 such houses so far, and the hope is the concept will spread nationwide, so there's a place like this for each of the 172 VA hospitals. But to understand how all this got started, you have to meet a man named Charles Wood. He's a veteran himself and a former AMVET state commander who's also been a regular VA hospital patient over the years. He says his wife Gladys, who recently passed away, was visiting him in the hospital once back in '86, and she met a family as she left.
And they asked her if it got cold in the area here at night. And she told them that it did get cold here at night, and she found out a little later that they had been sleeping in their car. Is the reason they wanted this information. His father was hospitalized, and then when we get home, she starts telling me this. And I asked her what she thought should be done about it, and she says we ought to get a place for him to stay. And I said, okay, we can do that.
And Chuck and Gladys Wood did, but it hasn't been easy. Chuck gathered some of his organizers together this day for us to learn the story. Never having undertaken anything like this before, and finding most people he asked for help hadn't either, Chuck finally managed to file his papers and obtain a license to run this nonprofit organization. But he needed money. He talked up the idea with the owner of his favorite town eatery, Casey's Restaurant, from whom he got his first $50. A variety of other fundraising activities has since garnered $15,000. But Chuck also needed a house. It was while he was eyeing this bed and breakfast place for possible purchase that he met this woman, Clara Norris. Clara lives across the street and talked Chuck into using her house for the House of Hope instead. She and her husband wanted to sell to move up north. One look around and it was a done deal. This had all the amenities of a home away from home, right from the welcome mat on the doorstep to the glorious gardens and patio, to the 3 cozy bedrooms upstairs, complete with a couple of stuffed animals you might want to bring along but can't get in your suitcase. Chuck is leasing the place for the moment until he has the money to buy. The charge is $10 a night, unless your loved one is in critical condition. Then it's free the first night and half price the next 2. Clara says she's had boarders before, so this is nothing new, but certainly something special.
It's a need in the area, and a lot of these ladies do not have transportation. I had one lady show up here at night one time about 5 o'clock, and at that time the days were shorter. It was getting dark. She had her luggage, and she was destitute. She didn't know where she was going to go. It's been rewarding, and I've made a lot of good friends, enjoyed a lot of good huckleberry pie and blueberry pie because they bring this from the coast. And they're just real good people. And they need somebody to talk to when they come back from over there. And some of them have lost their loved ones while they've been here. And they need a shoulder to cry on.
We went over there to the VA hospital to catch up with Lee Fringer, who's staying at the House of Hope while she visits Ken Jones.
I spent one night in the motel because this was an emergency. We didn't expect to stay. And I knew I couldn't afford it. So I looked in the yellow pages and I got the volunteer services, and they gave me the number of House of Hope. And actually they gave me the address, and I went over and I saw Clara, and she said welcome, and it was just wonderful. It was just the answer to prayer. As I say, I wouldn't have been able to stay at a motel, and I hadn't thought beyond that, but it just is, it's a godsend, really. I don't know what I would have done.
I think it's great. I think it's a godsend that they have places like this that family and friends of patients can stay and not having to spend all their resources on motels, and she can go there at night and stay and feel safe. It's nice to have somebody to visit. It's kind of lonely just lying in a room with nobody to visit you.
A second House of Hope has recently opened in Portland, and it's volunteers like Nadine Hansen, who've spent many a day commuting up there from Roseburg, who helped make it happen.
Oh, we hung drapes and went out and found drapes, bought drapes. Drapes were donated, and we'd run out and pick them up, and scrubbing, cleaning, just making beds, cleaning bathrooms. There's such a need with all the veterans that we have. There's got to be a place for these people that are out there. And if I can do a little bit to help, that's all I want to do.
Cal Cluth has done more than a little bit to help, too. He's been publicizing the House of Hope project all over Texas, and now has one starting up in Waco, thanks to a friend on whom Cal thought he was just paying an innocent visit one day.
Come on, hop in the car with me. I want to go to the bank. There's a couple things I need to show you. I said, great. So we go to the bank. He stops in front of this property. It's a corner lot, huge, humongous house. And I said, whoa, how many bedrooms is this sucker? He said, about 4. He said, with a sleeping room. He looked at me, he says, do you want it? I said, what? Excuse me? He said, do you want it? I said, hell yes, I want it. Sure. I said, well, why? I said, I don't understand. Why would you be giving me a house? He said, well, I'm so darn sick and tired of having the tenants trash it out, then I've got to come in and remodel it all the time. He said, it's just been a pain. He said, if you want it, you got it. Let's go to the bank. I'll get the deed. We'll go over to the attorney, have them draft it up. You can pick it up tomorrow. I said, God bless you.
But getting Houses of Hope established nationwide is proving to be an overwhelming task. That's where Herb Reinders enters the picture. He sells memorial bricks to nonprofit organizations, mostly universities, and hooked up with Chuck to raise money for the project. But before he knew it, Herb was volunteering most of his time to getting a National House of Hope organization in place.
Normally, we do not get personally involved in any of the organizations that we deal with. We give them the ideas and so forth, and then they do the fundraising on their own. In this particular instance, we decided that because of the project, it was a very patriotic project. My father was a veteran, World War II. My son was in the Army and so forth. I did not have the opportunity to go into service, and I thought that this would be a wonderful way for me to become involved in a very worthwhile cause.
A very worthwhile cause, perhaps, but one that competes daily with a multitude of worthwhile causes for money and volunteers. But this committed corps will not give up.
I'm a veteran myself. I know what these boys went through. And I'd hate to see them lay up in the hospital and die now by themselves. They can't have their family with them. That's where we're at.
For Veterans Only, I'm Mary Miller in Oregon.
If you're experiencing a particular problem in qualifying for veterans entitlements, the Department of Veterans Affairs will provide you with direct assistance. Address your correspondence to VA Hotline, Post Office Box 1777, Louisville, Kentucky 40201.
Next week on For Veterans Only, a special feature on veterans in the movies. Film star Chuck Norris and his brother Aaron, both veterans, are working together on a suspense thriller, Delta Force 2 Stranglehold, a behind-the-scenes look, next week on For Veterans Only. Until then, I'm Brian Patrick. Remember, when you need someone to count on, you can always count on a veteran.
A VHS copy of this or any For Veterans Only program is available for $19.95 plus $2.50 for postage and handling. To order, please specify subject matter and content of the program. Your VHS cassette can be obtained by sending a check or money order to Videotape, care of For Veterans Only, P.O. Box 1777, Louisville, Kentucky 40201. Or call area code 606-283-8170 for additional information. A transcript of this program can be obtained by sending $5 to Transcripts, care of For Veterans Only, P.O. Box 1777, Louisville, Kentucky 40201. Please specify subject matter and content of the program. That's Transcripts, care of For Veterans Only, P.O. Box 1777, Louisville, Kentucky 40201. For Veterans Only is made possible by a grant from the U.S. Department of Labor, Veterans Employment and Training Service, Washington, D.C. Additional funding has also been provided by the Commonwealth of Kentucky Cabinet for Human Resources, by AMVETS, a national veteran service organization, and by the DAV, the Disabled American Veterans. The producers thank this station and other public television stations for their assistance in making this program available. For Veterans Only is also telecast by the Armed Forces Radio and Television Service for the benefit of the men and women serving on active duty in our armed forces at home and abroad.